After the release of One Punch Man Season 3 Episode 1, the internet has, as usual, exploded with opinions. Some are fair criticisms, others are pretty passionate debates, but unfortunately there's also a side that literally just crosses the line completely. Now, I'm all for it when people express their thoughts. That's what being part of a fandom is. That's the whole point of joining a community. You share what you love, and yes, sometimes being disappointed when something doesn't meet your expectations becomes one of it. But when I came across some comments on my literal YouTube video, it really made me think about how we treat the people who actually make these shows possible. And I want to start with this one comment in particular. So this is the comment that I personally saw and just is a jaw-dropping one. And I don't even want to read it because I don't even want to explain how wrong this is. This is not even criticism. It's racism and it's disgusting. You can dislike how the episode was handled. You can talk about pacing, the storyboarding, or even the animation quality. You can say, oh, the animation is bad or whatever. But the moment you bring someone's race, nationality, or background into your argument, you've already failed to make a point. Criticism should never be directed at identity. It should be directed at the work itself. Behind this episode are artists who stayed up late, people who sacrificed sleep and time just to deliver something for the fans. Even if the end product didn't meet expectation, that doesn't give anyone the right to throw racial slurs at the stuff. This kind of comment doesn't just disrespect the show as a whole, it literally disrespects the medium of animation. And it's just disgusting to see this type of comments being thrown out casually just because the episode doesn't reach your expectation. Then there's another one I saw that say, true One Punch Man fans are not letting this horrible animation slide. The ones defending that horrible episode are tourists. Alright, now tourists in anime, as far as I know, basically means someone who just hopping on the trend, or basically people who join the community pretty late just for the sake of the hype and all that. Basically, they are FOMO or something like that. But to be honest, that logic in this context doesn't even make sense, because everyone who actually watched the episode with their eyes open, whether they love it or not, can definitely see that there were problems. There were actual issues with the episode itself. Most fans did point out the lack of motion, the uneven composition because of literally a one-to-one to the manga, and also even the rough direction choices. But again, just because we also mentioned the good parts that we like from the episode itself, like how good the drawing quality is, the OST placement, the tone of it, the compositing, that doesn't mean we're defending the flaws. Acknowledging both sides isn't quote-unquote copium or defending. It's called being fair. You can respect the animator's effort and still criticize the final product. That is what, in my personal opinion, being a fan truly means. Not just blindly hate on the show itself, and at the same time, not just blindly praise the show, because I agree, the episode itself is not perfect. It has tons of flaws. It has its own issue. But again, personally, I see both sides of the episode itself. Because at the end of the day, this series deserves to be talked about with respect. Not through hate, not through ignorance, and definitely not through racism. And the more I think about it, the more I realize this whole situation with One Punch Man Season 3 isn't just about one episode alone. Because in the later day, when the rest of the season is getting released, expectations will be there. And ever since Season 1 dropped, One Punch Man becomes more than just a popular anime. It became a benchmark for animation quality. That dream team that was assembled to make Season 1 of One Punch Man feels like a fever dream. It set the bar so ridiculously high that even if future seasons were handled by a good studio, it would still be compared to that once-in-a-generation level of production. But here's the reality. The production cycles, the scheduling, the deadlines, they are all brutal. Sometimes even the most talented staff can't reach that same visual height, not because they don't care or they are lazy, it's because of the production constraint that just happened to face One Punch Man. The problem comes when fans forget that. We start to treat the people behind the scene as machines, as if a single drop in quality means they are not trying or they are lazy. People also forget that behind those frames are people who went through hell just to make it exist in the first place. Again, it's okay to want great animation. I mean, we all do, I do. But it's also important to understand why things turn out the way they do. The tragedy is when criticism turns into hate, when the conversation stops being about what went wrong creatively and becomes about who to attack personally. That's when the whole meaning of giving a constructive criticism just vanishes. We were supposed to support what we love, not tear down the people making it. Again, supporting in a way that is not blindly hating and also not blindly praising them. So if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from all of this, it's that patience that doesn't have to equal aggression. You can demand better without dehumanizing the people creating the thing you love. And there's also tons of comments comparing One Punch Man Season 3 to other show, saying like, even this random slice of life romance anime looks better than One Punch Man. And while yes, some of those shows do have cleaner animation or overall better looking anime, the difference here is literally the word priority. So people need to realize that high profile from a popularity point of view and high profile from a production point of view are two very different things. The industry doesn't always revolve around popularity. From a studio perspective, maybe the site of Cloverworks that handled My Dress Up Darling, literally, I mean like from the looks of it, they have put a higher priority on My Dress Up Darling compared to Seishin Butayaro. You can see the difference in quality right there, and you can see which one has the higher priority in terms of production importance. And yes, both My Dress Up Darling and Seishin Butayaro are both made under the same studio, which is Cloverworks. But here's the thing, they don't share the same team. Every anime within a studio operates within different staff groups, different producers, different schedules, and even different budgets. Think of it like a separate mini studios under the same roof. For instance, My Dress Up Darling was led by Keisuke Shinohara, who has a history of working with high-profile character animators and color designers. Meanwhile, Seishin Butayaro, though also handled by Cloverworks, had a completely different director, producer, and animation lineup. So even though both anime came from the same company, their quality differ based on the internal teams assigned to each. But before anyone takes this the wrong way, I'm not saying one director or producer or team is better than the other. Anime production isn't a competition between staff members, but it's mostly about resources, scheduling, and what the production committee expects from each show. In this case, My Dress Up Darling simply had a much higher production priority compared to Seishin Butayaro. That basically means it had a more generous timeline, stronger budget allocation, and a team assembled for its whole aesthetic goals. So again, anime under different production pipeline and also under different production committee often gets a certain treatment to their own production. And as for this case, we got My Dress Up Darling, which had a much more priority, I would say, compared to Seishin Butayaro in this case, in which why My Dress Up Darling moves more or moves a lot better than Seishin Butayaro. But that doesn't mean the anime is bad whatsoever. I love my son, by the way. And also Marin, so yeah. Meanwhile, One Punch Man Season 3 on JC stuff, the situation is way messier. Late resources, tight scheduling, and also the adaptation that is fighting for its own legacy. We literally didn't have a season for 6 years. While it is true everyone wants their favorite IP to look good, and honestly it deserves to look good, but your favorite manga being popular doesn't mean it's automatically going to attract the best animators in the business. The top animators, directors, and studios don't just jump to the most famous series. They go where they can create, where they can actually experiment with a stable production and schedule that gives them room to breathe. Either that or they just have a really strong connection with the industry leading talent. So to sum it up in a nutshell, just because your show is mainstream or your manga or your series is mainstream doesn't mean it can automatically pull all of the industry talent to work on it if, again, it doesn't go align with what their vision is. But of course, that doesn't excuse poor management, and it's okay to criticize the people in charge. It's okay to want more for this series. We all do. Even I personally want to see One Punch Man moves differently. But at the same time, we just need to understand that there's a big difference between a production not trying and a production not having the means to try. And obviously people are just going to go, well, it's definitely the studio fault for accepting One Punch Man. It's JC stuff problem. Well, personally, I don't think it's actually them being the villain here, since the real issue actually came from the higher up, the production committee. If I need to pull up a name, Bandai Namco. Well, Bandai is definitely part of the production committee. So one of those side in the actual higher up of the production committee are the one who decides the budget, the time frame, the schedule, and that's basically sets the tone for everything else. When you're handed a bad schedule, you're already doomed before you start. You can't animate something properly if you are constantly fighting the clock. You can't bring in top talent if the schedule looks like a train wreck. And no animators want to work on a project that's going to burn them out. Hell, even Vincent Chansard said he doesn't even want to work with MAPPA after the hellish production that he faced through in Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 Episode 17. Well, at the end of the day, the final product looks good, am I right? Yes, but people never actually care the people who work behind the scene. Whether they are burned out or not, it's not even your problem, am I right? And yes everyone, that's exactly what's happening here. The schedule is abysmal and is forcing even skilled animators like Aoki to rush through their work or reuse certain shots just to meet the deadlines. At the same time, that doesn't mean One Punch Man Season 3 won't have highlights. It will. There's still a good amount of talent involved, and when those moments actually hit, you will definitely notice it. But when people blame JC stuff, the studio, or the individual artist, or even the director, they are missing the bigger picture. The problem isn't just in the drawings, it's in the system that doesn't give these creators the time or resources to bring their best. At the end of the day, One Punch Man Season 3's Episode 1 isn't the strongest start. But again, it's not the worst thing ever either. It is a build-up episode. While that's understandable given the part of the story that it's adapting, I don't think that alone should excuse how it was handled. Still, I don't think it's fair to throw all of this to the animators or the staff. They are doing what they can within the time and condition they've been given, and as frustrating as it is, this is the reality for a lot of anime today. What I do hope is that as the season goes on, the team hopefully can continuously get its own flow so that the adaptation becomes more and more confident and more convincing, so that we start seeing those flashes of brilliance that remind us why people fell in love with One Punch Man in the first place. So yes everyone, those are basically it. It's just me yapping around again. But I hope this video actually gave you some thoughts and gave you some enlightenment on the actual reality of One Punch Man Season 3. But yes everyone, those are basically it for today's video. I really hope this video is sort of informative or at least leave some impact towards you guys. And if you guys actually watch until the end, don't forget to comment down Mumen Rider in the comment section below. And yes, those are basically it. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next One Punch Man video. Goodbye.